Well, let's get some reporting here. Welcome back to Hardball. There's more fallout to report over Nevada Senator John Ensign's affair with the wife of a former aide, Doug Hampton. The New York Times reports today that Ensign helped get a job and some clients for Hampton that may violate a ban on lobbying for a year for a Senate staffer. After you leave the office of a senator, you're not supposed to work as a lobbyist for a year. Apparently, the senator helped set him up to do just that. And the Senate Ethics Committee is investigating the Nevada senator now for allegations of improper conduct along those lines. Eric Lichtblau wrote the story for the New York Times today. And Lisa Mascaro, thank you, Lisa, for joining us. She's the Washington correspondent for the Las Vegas Sun. You're up on the Hill. Eric's with me. Let me go to Eric right now. What's he done wrong legally, the senator?
Well, what the Senate Ethics Committee and possibly the FBI will be looking at is whether or not this was, in effect, a concerted effort, a conspiracy even, by the senator and by his former aide.
Hush money.
You could call it that, in order to conceal this affair by getting income into Doug Hampton's hands by creating lobbying jobs for him and Ensign then intervening on behalf of those clients. Was
he helping this guy out for goodwill or because he feared or felt that the guy could extort something from him?
That's a good question. I think it might be a little bit of both. When you say goodwill, these were guys who had been best friends practically for the better part of 20 years. There also, though, was certainly the threat of exposure because he had been having an affair with Doug Hampton's wife. Their wives were good friends. And
all this went on
all sorts of bad
how long, not to get too much into the hanky-panky, but it is part of the story, how long did the senator, Ensign, have the affair with Mrs. Hampton and Mr. Hampton didn't know about it?
Mr. Hampton found out about it pretty soon. We believe it's within a month or two.
Of it starting?
Maybe even less than that.
Of it starting?
Yes, but the problem was that it continued even after Senator Ensign said he was going to break it off. He was confronted by...
So in the face of his staffer, he was having an affair with the guy's wife?
Yes, he was confronted by his colleagues, by Senator Coburn.
And the guy's wife was living with him?
Yes.
He was having an affair with the guy's wife while the guy and the wife were living together?
Yes. They were together, and the affair went on for 8 months.
Unbelievable. Can you add to this, Lisa, the whole story of the hanky-panky into the potential criminality of covering this up by using your office to get lobbying jobs and then allowing the guy to lobby you, which seems to me a circle of love that might just be illegal?
Yeah, you know, Chris, it's really been interesting because Senator Ensign really was on the way, I think, to trying to put this whole issue behind him. He made this big tour of Nevada this summer during the congressional break, and he's been very active, you know, up on the Senate Finance Committee as they deal with health care. And, you know, I think we were just starting to write stories that didn't have the words in it. You know, Senator Ensign, who earlier this year disclosed an affair, you know, we were just sort of moving on from that.
You're almost dropping the boilerplate, yeah.
Yeah, and then this, you know, I think the first story we wrote with that was last weekend, and then this, you know, emerges with much more serious allegations than some, you know, than what we had seen earlier. I was talking to one ethics expert today who said it just really confirms a lot of what, you know, if true, a lot of the allegations that they had been concerned about earlier, you know, but in a more serious nature now because of the, you know, the one-year lobby ban. So, you know, we'll have to see where this goes for him.
Well, the old rule of journalism, Eric, and you write for the great New York Times, has been sex plus. There's got to be something besides just hanky-panky. There has to be a staffer involved, somebody who works with you, a workplace issue. There has to be perhaps lobbying going on that violates the public trust. To get to the heart of this potential criminality, if you get a job for somebody as a lobbyist, you're certainly breaking the ethics law is one thing, and maybe filing a false claim is one thing, and maybe that's a potential conspiracy. But going further, if you then allow the guy, in this case a male, to come into your office as a lobbyist, paid for by an interest that has somebody has an interest in your office, and then you let them lobby for that person, you are giving away your service as a senator for pay.
Well, it's what the Justice Department in past cases has called the denial of honest services, the idea that your constituency isn't the people of your state, but someone who you have a financial relationship with.
And this may be the charge against Blago out there in Illinois, too, that the denial of... Let me go to you on this. Let me first of all read the senator's statement in all fairness to him. Quote, I am confident we fully complied with the relevant laws and rules governing current and past employees. I have worked on these Nevada issues with these Nevada companies for years, long before Doug Hampton left my office. The cover story there, true or not, Lisa, is that he allowed himself to be lobbied by these guys long before he got this guy a job working for them.
Right. You know, and I think, as someone else told me today, this is a real tangled mess now that really would sort of need a lot of explaining to, to sort out. And, Eric mentioned the honest services fraud issue. That's certainly one, one thing that we've heard about. And then, of course, another criminal defense lawyer told me today that, the one-year lobby ban, it's sitting right there. If a prosecutor wanted to sort of go the easy route, that would certainly be an easy route to go, if this is true,
Well, let's take a look at this. Here's Doug Hampton. He said he and the Senator Ensign chose to ignore the lobbying ban, which says you can't lobby your old boss for a year. He said, quote, the only way the clients could get what John was essentially promising them, which was access, was if I still had a way to work with his office, and John knew that. How did that work?
Well, this became an issue of concern within Ensign's office from the very start. After Hampton left Ensign's employment, Ensign's chief of staff went to him and said, we may have a problem here, in effect. And according to both Doug Hampton and the chief of staff, Ensign's directions were to have the chief of staff work directly with work directly with Doug Hampton as a conduit, which is an odd way of dealing with the problem. Doug Hampton saw that as sort of
let him lobby the senator through the chief of staff.
Well, that's what investigators will have to look at. Doug Hampton's interpretation is that this was the go-to guy. This was the person he went to. Yeah.
Anybody who knows a bit about the Hill knows to lobby a chief of staff is to lobby a senator. Right. And there's no way of saying you're skirting the law on that. You certainly are violating it. You just figure that the guy has a confidential relationship with you, and he won't tell the prosecutors.
And we published all sorts of interesting emails between Doug Hampton and the senator, where Doug Hampton was getting increasingly restless about this situation, this odd relationship they had, and was saying, you promised me clients. You promised me 3 clients. I said I would leave your office to save your career. Now I'm looking at financial ruin. You haven't lived up to your end of the bargain. I mean, it's really this fascinating relationship between these two guys.
Okay, why are people so unhireable? Now, this guy was cuckolded by his boss. His boss had a relationship with his wife. He has reason to be miserable about it and to be angry about it, both toward his wife and toward the boss, right? Why doesn't he go away and get a real job in a real part of American enterprise? Why does he have to be a barnacle on this guy's butt and run around after him trying to get a job as a lobbyist on him? Explain.
Well, that's a good question.
Why does he go away?
We asked Doug Hampton that very question. His feeling was that he had put a lot of his time and life into John Ensign's career. He had moved from Southern California at John Ensign's request, had joined his staff, had sort of hitched his wagon to him, and that John Ensign owed him a debt of obligation. He was giving up a career in the Senate, basically because his wife was having an affair with the senator. And
why didn't he go work for another senator?
He felt that John Ensign owed him restitution, in effect, and they even considered a financial settlement before this became public.
So his moral way of looking at it is, this guy had a sexual relationship with my wife, therefore he owes me, and he will pay me out of the public till.
I don't think he'd look at it quite that way, but certainly that's how this all ended up, was that...
this goes back, let me go tell you, Lisa, this goes back to the sense that people who get elected to office, some of them, look upon office as an opportunity to take. Mm-hmm. That they have possessions there, assets there, sitting in the office, and they want to sell them or use them. But thank you for this story. It's not pretty, but it does help people decide who to vote for. Thank you, Eric Lichtblau. Thank you for the New York Times, as always.